there. Okay, there's a strong tie. Many Liberians have relatives that are in America here. Liberia is a country that was very prosperous, actually. In I think the 60s, 70s, they were, I think I remember reading, the fastest growing economy in the world. Someone told me earlier today that they were the Rock of Africa. Okay? And so, since then, you know that they're no longer that same rock. Okay? They've fallen fast and pretty hard. A 14-year civil war caused by many, many different things that is very complicated. But at the heart of it is sin, and we know that. At the heart of it is greed and power and corruption. And today, and that ended in 2003, they elected their first president post-war in 2005, the first female president of any African nation. She ran for 2 terms, 6 years each, and they just had a new election, and things are transferring peacefully. Power is transferring peacefully for right now. So things are going well. We're happy about that. This being here and being home, I want to let you guys know how filled I am from being with you guys and being at this church. A couple weeks ago, there was a sermon from Deuteronomy, and I just want to go through that scripture again a little bit and let you know what was going through my mind. In Deuteronomy, Moses was speaking on the curses of disobedience. Okay, when we disobey God, we are cursed. You will be cursed in your own towns, and in the country you will be cursed with baskets empty of fruit, with kneading bowls empty of bread. You will be cursed with few children and barren fields. You will be cursed with infertile herds and flocks. Agriculture is woven throughout that scripture right there. But later on in Deuteronomy 30, which we heard in the sermon, it says, "If at that time you return to your God, and you and your children begin wholeheartedly to obey all the commands I have given you today, then the Lord your God will restore your fortunes. He will have mercy on you and gather you back from all nations where he has scattered you. Though you are at the ends of the earth, the Lord your God will go and find you and bring you back again. He will return you to the land that belonged to your ancestors, and you will possess that land again. He will make you even more prosperous and numerous than your ancestors." And later on down it says, "He will give you many children and numerous livestock, and your fields will produce abundant harvests for the Lord." Abundant harvests for the Lord. And first, honestly, I was thinking about myself. I was thinking about, wow, the sin that is in me, the wickedness that is in me. I know the things that I don't do well, or the ways in which I disobey God. I was like, wow, what a God that we have, that he lets us come back to him. And he gives us these promises. And then my mind quickly wandered to Liberia. It wandered to our colleagues, the people that we work with, the students that we teach, and the other faculty members and teachers that we teach with. And I quickly thought about how Liberia's been down in the depths, and they've been cursed, and they've had their problems. But we know that there's a God that can help us to come back, and there's a God that is welcoming us, and that has promised us to be prosperous and numerous, and promised to make our fields fertile again. And that was something that really, I thought about a lot, and I was really thankful for that message, that word, and for this church here. And you're going to see a little bit about what's going on in Liberia and what God is doing here. Go ahead.
That was a little background on Liberia and why we do what we do. The name of the organization that we work with is called Hope in the Harvest, and they are a faith-based agricultural organization whose mission is both agricultural as well as personal transformation. We believe in a holistic approach to addressing the needs that are in this world. We all have a spiritual hunger inside of us, and we have physical hunger in Liberia a lot too. So that is the mission of our organization there, and that is what we live for and breathe for in Liberia. The 3 ways in which we do this is first the Agricultural Research Center, then Farming God's Way, and then Liberia International Christian College. So this is a picture of where we live in Liberia. In Nimba County, these are the farms on the school where we teach, and then this is the agriculture building. So through the Research Center here, we have students working, we have community members working, and we're trying to see which types of methods we can use in order to increase production. So that's the science aspect of it that we are looking into applying and figuring out how we can increase our yields. Because if you look at some of the statistics that worldwide organizations have done, Liberia is only producing like 20-30% of what they have the potential to do. So we want to be able to increase that, because right now in Liberia we're importing over 70-80% of our food products, which does not make for a secure country. So this is what we're doing there. We have a lot of staff who help with all these projects there. And then we have next, it's partnered and it's on site of Liberia International Christian College. So this is the school buildings up here, like where they teach education classes, their general core classes, math, bio, whatever. And then they also have business classes here, theology classes, and then we have the agriculture center down here. So we are a partner with that organization. We work underneath Liberia International Christian College. They have been established before we came. So when Hope in the Harvest knew that they wanted to do spiritual agricultural work in Liberia, they wanted to find a strong partner who was already on the ground and link up with them, rather than just like running through the country aimlessly, trying to talk to farmers. So this is where we root ourselves, at Liberia International Christian College, or LICC. You'll probably hear me saying that a lot. And then this is kind of the extension arm of the school. Most universities in the U.S. have an extension arm where they go out and train people in the community, and that's what I used to do here before I went. And so we use a tool called Farming God's Way there, and this is a tool that teaches agricultural principles like composting and the scientific ones, management principles, like being on time, doing things to high standards on our farms, and then biblical principles, meaning that we recognize that everything that we have, everything that we are doing belongs to God, and we are merely managers of creation. And when we learn to look at life like that, we learn to look at our businesses like that, it really changes the decision-making process and how we act like that. So we'll typically go out and do 3-day workshops in villages. We have Liberian staff that goes with us and translates and teaches too. We also take our students out and they help and go and teach these workshops. And we also host these workshops on campus at LICC. So inviting pastors to come, and then they get to take this back out to their regions, wherever they're from, and implement it on the church level. Because a lot of churches are struggling to provide for their pastors and provide for their own people who are hungry. So this is a really good opportunity to help explore the gospel on a deeper level, because it has all kinds of biblical connections that we go through when we teach it, and then also empower local community members and farmers to increase their production and be able to take care of their families and also sell and be profitable in that way. Let's see. Okay, yeah, you heard Nathan mention, so we're just going to tell a few stories from this past year of big things that happened in Liberia. So the elections were a big thing that happened in Liberia this past year. As Nathan said, we got a new president, I think it was in January? Yeah, and we had elections that were set for November We had some delays in the elections, which was making everybody a little bit nervous because there was a lot of allegations thrown around. But we did install a new president in January, and that was the first peaceful transfer of power in Liberia for over like 60 or 70 years. So that was a really big step. And a lot of you guys were reading our newsletters and praying alongside of us, and we thank you so much for that. And we continue to pray for Liberia that underneath the leadership of our new president, this is George Weah, and then this is Madam Sirleaf, the former president, that we would continue to grow and that God would guide them as leaders on where Liberia needs to go next. And then mine and Nathan's role there is mainly as teachers and training teachers who work alongside of us. So you'll hear me talking a lot about my students and my classes, and these are some of the classes that we taught this past year: food processing and preservation, which we'll have more on that. Nathan taught an ag business class, a swine class. We taught a global agriculture class, which we'll highlight, and then a lot of other smaller classes. So these are some of my students in the agronomy class. So we are outside pretty much every single time we have class, which is a new experience for some of our students, even in agriculture. You would think you would be outside every day, but a lot of times, unfortunately, the schools are mainly doing a lot of memorization with the students from young age all the way up. They're just memorizing. And so this practical application of knowledge is something that's really important for them. So that's what we focus on with our students and all the other teachers in the agriculture department. We try and make sure that they're applying it outside. And this is a picture of some of our students who decided to get together on their own and do a project planting cabbage. So they gathered the money together, they went and bought the seeds, they planted together, they planned work days. So that was a really encouraging time for us to see that. And they wanted to do that in order to practice even more. I was like, don't we do enough in class? They're like, no, we need more. I'm like, okay, do it, go. Go. And so they were doing that to raise money for their agriculture department. This is the food processing and preservation class, which I love and post about all the time on Facebook. We made cheese. Pastor Bill is in the yellow there. That's another family that lives and works in the same area. And Pastor Bill came up and helped teach my cheese class, and he started out the class with, all right, so how many times is cheese mentioned in the Bible? And my students were like, oh, I thought we were in ag class. What? So does anyone know how many times cheese is mentioned in the Bible? Anyone take a guess?
17.
17?
3.
I think 6, if I recall. Correct. It was 6. Yeah, so I love that we get to teach at a Christian school and incorporate those things all the time into that. These are some of my students. We're processing cabbage, tomatoes, and chips. And so Liberia is a tropical area. We have plenty of food growing in the wild, really. Bananas, mangoes, pawpaw, which is papaya. Sorry. Papaya. And so it really breaks everyone's heart when we see the mangoes rotting on the floor because we can't sell them. They're only around for 2 months. And we have an abundance, but we don't know yet in Liberia how to keep them and how to store them. And then also how to add value to our products. Rather than just selling them as a mango, how can I add value to it? I can cut it and dry it in a solar dryer, and I can increase my profit. So those are things we talk a lot about in this class. You'll see, this is a solar dryer that the students and I built together. And we were drying all kinds of things in there. And so that's a real hit when people come in. We have visitors come to the farm all the time. They come and see this. They're like, I didn't know. I didn't know I could do this, because mostly in Liberia we dry things out in the sun, and the chickens are eating them, and the dirt's coming in up, So you can't really add value to your product like that. So this is a really cool and cost-effective way for farmers to add value. Make banana chips and sell them later. Make mango chips and sell them later. And then we also made jam, which you saw that little picture, which is. And then this is a day, agriculture day. We had, I think, 200 or 300 visitors come to the farm that day. And the students pretty much planned everything. They were tour guides that day and took everybody around. And we had farmers from all throughout the county come and visit. And they were teaching them the new skills that they have learned in their classes so that they can apply them on their farms back in the villages. This is one of my students, Sam. He just cracks me up so much. He's also a pastor. And he is just a great leader for a lot of our agriculture students. And he's always getting them energized to go. He's always ready to go out to the community and train more and more people. Always asking me, Mrs. Glenn, when are we going out next? Mrs. Glenn, when are we going? I'm like, okay. Sam, you got to plan it, you know? So yeah, that was really, I love having him there. These are one of our students and then one of our field staff grew all these sweet potatoes, which is another staple food in Liberia after rice. And then we taught a global agriculture class, which was really cool because we got to partner with University of Maryland on that. So that's my alma mater. And what we did is we brought together students from both sides who were interested in working with farmers and addressing the problem of, international food security. So we had farmers, and we had students in in Liberia, and we had students in Maryland video chatting together, which was a first for that school. So they were video chatting, talking about the problems that farmers face and coming up with solutions together. And then those students got to come over during their spring break and implement some of those trainings in the communities. And it was just an amazing learning opportunity for students on both sides to be able to talk to each other. Because a lot of times in their classes, they talk about each other, but they don't talk to each other. So this was a really cool opportunity. This is us in visiting one of the farms in Bathing. That's a rice farm, and it's the most beautiful crop I've ever seen growing. We had a professional photographer with them too, so that happened. And then these are just a few of the pictures of our students working with the Maryland students, doing the finger snap thing.
This is my brother.
This is Nathan's brother, so that was a really rewarding opportunity for that, and that's something we hope to continue in the future, that partnership. These are my students. This is Ezekiel, Peter, and they had brought a farmer up to the front to do some training with them, which we don't see a lot of times in Liberia. We see just someone talking up at the front. They're the expert.